Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 3rd Nancy meeting. This is Marilyn Jones. I'm the designated federal officer for the Nancy, and I would like to thank you for your attendance and your support. Today, the Nancy will receive updates from the Secure Telephone Identity Governance Authority, the North American Portability Management, LLC, and the Number and Administration Oversight Working Group. With that summary of the agenda, I would turn the meeting over to Jennifer McKee, the Nancy Chair, to get us started. Jennifer?
Hi, thanks, Marilyn, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the last meeting of the North American Numbering Council for 2020. We welcome members of the public who are watching via live stream and encourage you to submit any questions you may have to livequestions@fcc.gov. And your questions will be read during the public participation portion of the meeting. Today's meeting will be fairly brief, but before we begin, I want to once again review for our council members our best practices for this virtual meeting. Please keep your phone on mute if you're not speaking. If you need to take another call or leave the meeting momentarily, please don't put the call on hold, as some systems may play hold music that will interfere with the meeting. Instead, either leave your line on mute or temporarily jump off the call and rejoin us when you can. Those of us who are on the WebEx should disable the video function. You can see a button on the bottom of your screen with a camera on it. Please make sure that the function is off. This will help the meeting run more smoothly. If you have a question or comment during the designated discussion times, there are 3 ways that you can let us know. The first is by raising your hand electronically using the raise hand function on WebEx. There are circular icons along the bottom of your screen. Select participants, which will pop up a list of all those of us in the meeting. The raise hand icon should appear when you mouse over your name. You may be listed as you. Click on it and it will let us know that you want to speak. Marilyn will track who raises a hand, and at the end of an agenda segment, we will address your question. Once we call on you, you can unmute your phone to ask your question. When you're finished, please unclick the icon to turn off the raise hand function so that we know you no longer have a question or comment. The meeting host cannot control the raise hand function, so we each have to unclick our own icons once our questions have been addressed. We'll do our best to monitor this function. If you're having difficulty with the raise hand function, you can also ask a question by using the WebEx chat feature. You can send a message to Marilyn, who is the host. These will not be made public, so Marilyn will read it aloud for the record. And then lastly, as a final measure, or if you want to respond to a question that has been asked, you can simply unmute your phone. If you go with this option, please remember to identify yourself when you speak. We may not recognize your voice. Please also remember to put your phone back on mute when you're done speaking. As we move through the agenda and any questions arise, Marilyn or I will verbally pass the mic to those of you who are presenting. Again, we are trying to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard in an orderly fashion. Does anyone have any questions on the technical aspects of this meeting before we move ahead? Okay, I think we're all getting used to this by now. As a reminder, members of the public with questions for the Nancy were asked to submit comments via the FCC's electronic comment filing system. Members of the public watching the live stream may ask a question by sending it via email to livequestions@fcc.gov. Submitted questions will be read live during the public participation portion of the meeting. Now, before we begin the meeting, do any members need to make disclosures? Okay, not hearing anybody. So, my vice chair, Bruce, do you have any comments or remarks that you would like to make?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and good morning to you, Bruce.
Good
I'll
morning.
turn the meeting back. Good morning. I'll turn the meeting back over to our designated federal official, Marilyn Jones, and she will conduct our roll call.
Thank you, Chair McKee. First up is Information Services. Heather Barrow.
This is Heather. Oh, this is Heather. Thank you.
Thanks. ACA Connect. Ad Hoc Telecommunications Users Committee.
Susan Gately here for Ad Hoc. Hi, Marilyn.
Good morning, Susan. Thank you. Addis.
Good morning, Marilyn. Jackie Welchma.
Morning, Jackie. Thanks. AT&T. AT&T, Bandwidth.
Good morning, Greg Rogers.
Thank you, Lisa and Greg. Charter.
Betty Sanders
Charter
is on.
Communications. Morning, Betty. Thank you. Comcast.
Good morning, Marilyn. Tim Cagle's on.
Good morning, Tim. CCA.
Good morning. It's Alexi Malthus for CCA.
Good morning, Alexis. CTIA.
Hey there, it's Matt Gerst of CTIA.
Good morning, Matt. Thank you. Google. Craig Lennon for Google. Are you here? And Compass.
Yeah, hi Marilyn, it's Chris Shipley with Encompass.
Good morning, Chris. Entrado.
Good morning, Marilyn. Bob McCausland is here.
Good morning, Bob. Nehru.
Good morning, Karen Charles Peterson's here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nasuka.
Good morning, Marilyn. It's Barry Hobbins representing Nasuka.
Good morning, Barry. Thank you. NTCA.
Good morning, Marilyn. Brian is here.
Morning, Brian. Thank you. Nevada PUC. Nevada PUC. Peerless. Peerless Network. SIP Forum.
Good morning. This is
Julie.
Julie Ost from Peerless.
Good morning, Julie. SIP Forum.
Marilyn, it's Rich Shockey. I'm here.
Good morning, Rich. TDS.
Good morning, Paul Nagetto is here.
Good morning, Paul. Telnex.
Good morning, Marilyn. David Kasem here.
Good morning, David. T-Mobile.
Hi, this is Rosemary Life.
And Scott Fireman.
And
Good morning.
Thank you. Twilio. Twilio. US Connect.
Good morning, Marilyn. Bridget Alexander White is on for US Connect.
Good morning, Bridget. Thank you. US Telecom.
Hi, this is Christine Hackman for U.S. Telecom.
Good morning, Christine. Thank you.
Good
Verizon.
morning.
Dana Crandall here. Good morning.
Good morning, Dana. Vonage. iConnective LLC.
Good morning. Chris is here.
Morning, Chris.
And Glenn Reynolds.
Good morning, Glenn. Thank you. Somos.
Hi, Marilyn. Ann Berkowitz is here.
Thank you, Ann. Good morning. That concludes our roll call. Did I miss anyone? Did anyone? Okay, thanks, everyone. Chair McKee, I'm turning it back over to you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, allow your official join for AT&T.
Oh, thank you, AT&T.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I would now like to welcome Ajit Pai, Chairman of the Commission, who will make some opening remarks for us this morning. Chairman Pai, the call is yours. Chairman Pai, I don't know if you're there on mute.
Hi, this is Liz. It looks like he's on the video, but maybe not on the audio bridge.
Okay. Yeah, I see him on the video.
Let's just give 1 minute just to make sure that we can get him on the bridge. Thanks, everybody.
Marilyn or Liz, do you want to make sure that the chairman has the correct number for the bridge? Just maybe shoot him a quick text.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what we're
I
working on
just
right
sent
now.
him a
Thanks, Chris.
link, Chris. This is Allison.
Thank you, Allison. Yep, thank you.
Oh, hi, this is Ajit.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Welcome. We could see you in the video, but couldn't hear you.
Shoot, I'm sorry about that. I was wondering if,
Did you give us a lovely speech that we couldn't hear?
No, I didn't, but I was wondering, boy, it's a very sedate crowd, which is unusual for the Nancy, so I apologize for that. It's must be something on my end, but hopefully you can hear me okay now, and I'm not intruding.
No. We are very pleased to have you. We welcome you this morning, and please, go ahead.
Well, thanks so much, and sorry for the technical difficulties. Ironic, given the position, of course, but nonetheless, I just want to express good morning to you, to our chair, to our vice chair Williamson, to members of the Nancy, to our intrepid DFO Marilyn Jones, and welcome to members of the public who are tuning in to this meeting of the Nancy via our FCC live stream. I really appreciate your taking the time and apologize for, again, keeping you waiting. Today's Nancy meeting wraps up another busy year for all of you. Over the last 12 months, the FCC has gotten some recommendations and reports from you on things like technical requirements and the fee structure for the reassigned numbers database, call authentication and stir shaken implementation, toll-free number assignment modernization, and the first of its kind 833 toll-free auction. The IP location routing number solution for nationwide number portability, and interoperable video calling. Complex subjects each, and together, it just represents an incredible corpus of work that you've accomplished. And you've done all this while performing the ongoing oversight functions that are charged to you under the FCC's rules with respect to local number portability and our numbering administration contracts. So that would be a robust workload during an ordinary year, but so I think we are all keenly aware 2020 has been anything but ordinary. I know the pandemic has created personal and professional challenges for everybody, and I'm quite sure that many of those have been visited upon you as well. And I think it's tempting, of course, to minimize the demands on our time and energy when you're dealing with these extraordinary circumstances, but all of you have found time beyond your day jobs, beyond your family obligations, and all the other responsibilities that you have, and have continued to lend your time and expertise to the incredibly important work of the Nancy. And for that, I'm especially grateful. Making communication services more efficient, more secure, and more accessible are now paramount concerns for all Americans, and the pandemic has really focused our attention on communications as the linchpin in many of our lives. And in every single subject that the Nancy has examined for the Commission over the past year, you've helped advance that goal. And so, again, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you and any past Nancy members who may be watching as well for all the work that you have done during my time as chairman of the FCC. During my tenure, the Nancy has been rechartered twice. It's worked on incredibly important issues such as the LNPA transition, the contract consolidation for the North American Numbering Plan Administrator, the Pooling Administrator, and the new Reassigned Numbers Database Administrator. Something that's very important to me personally, you've helped set up the 988 three-digit dialing code for a national suicide prevention hotline, the establishment of a governance authority to facilitate stir shaken implementation, and many other reports and recommendations that I just don't have time to get into today, except to say that once again, I want to thank you once again for going all above and beyond to make yourselves available to participate on Nancy working groups and to deliberate on the recommendations that we've requested during such a very challenging time. I'm impressed by and again appreciate your tremendous dedication to the work of the Nancy and to the Commission, and I personally have welcomed the chance to work with you. I know your work isn't finished, and I certainly wish you the very best going forward, and I'll simply close by saying that I hope our paths will cross again soon. So again, sorry for delaying you this morning, but look forward to following all the work that you're doing today and in the days to come. So thanks so much.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman Pai. We really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning and for all of your kind words, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely,
now,
you too.
Thanks. We also have another special guest this morning, Chris Monteith, who is Chief of the Wireline Competition Bureau. Chief Monteith the call is yours.
Thank you, Chair McKee, and welcome to you, to Vice Chair Williamson, and all of the Nancy members. And I appreciate your kind words. I want to echo Chairman Pai's remarks and thank the entire Nancy for all of your hard work over the course of the past year. As always, you've been extremely busy grappling with some very important issues, as the chairman mentioned, and all of your work is greatly appreciated. As some of you may know, numbering issues were among the first issues I worked on when I joined the commission in 1997. And I was fortunate enough to serve for a time as the DFO to the Nancy. It was then among the most important work in the agency. I thought the numbering work was really interesting and cool. And I was delighted to take on the numbering portfolio of work when I rejoined the Wireline Competition Bureau in 2015. From the outset of Chairman Pai's administration, he has realized how interesting, important, and cool these issues are as well. And he and his staff have given them the visibility and attention they deserve. And I want to thank him for that. It's been a very exciting time in the world of numbering, in my humble opinion. And I want to also thank the staff of the Wireline Competition Bureau who work so hard on these issues. Marilyn, Jordan, Carmel, Dan, Pam, Liz, Michelle, Heather, Connor, Matt, Alex, Justin, Ed, Zach. If I inadvertently overlooked anyone, my profuse apologies. But you all work so hard, as the Nancy members know, to support the work of the Nancy and our numbering policy work within the Bureau and the agency, and I thank you for that. As Chairman Pai said, it's a difficult time. I know it's, you have day jobs, you work so hard on the Nancy issues, and we're all grappling with doing that remotely. I thank you again. I wish you a successful meeting today and also wish you and your families a safe holiday season. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it back to you, Chair McKee.
Thank you very much, Chief Monteith. Again, we appreciate you taking the time to speak with us this morning and all of your kind words. And I second all of your comments about the very, very talented, hardworking staff of the Wireline Competition Bureau, and thank them for all the support they have given to the Nancy. Now, next on the agenda, we have a new member to welcome to our group. Jill Davis is joining us as a designated alternative member to the Council for the Nevada Public Utilities Commission. Welcome, Jill, and congratulations on your appointment. Oh, yes, Marilyn.
I just wanted to let everyone know that Mike Jacobs from ACA was able to join the meeting during Chair Pai's comments. So welcome, Mike.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that update. One other thing I wanted to mention before we start in the meat of the agenda, some of you may have seen the public notice asking the Nancy to discuss and provide input on the feasibility and cost of including an automatic dispatchable location with a 988 call at one of our meetings. Marilyn will provide more information on that request later on in the agenda, but just wanted to flag that for you that will be coming up. So now we will start and hear an update from Brent Struthers, Director of the STIGA. Brent, the call is yours.
Good morning. Hopefully you can hear me well. I'm going to assume that's
we can hear you.
Great, thank you. On behalf of the ADIS, on behalf of the STIGA board, and I think on behalf of the STIPA as well, iConnective, I think we're all really thrilled to be taking part in advancing the goal of robocall mitigation, as the chairman said. And I hate to disagree with Ms. Monteith, but my children would vehemently disagree with the cool part of her statement, although the interesting part has always been true. My kids grew up with me doing this numbering stuff, and they would definitely tell me it's not cool. Anyway, let's talk about robocall mitigation and STIGA. A little bit longer presentation today. I've got actually 2 slides instead of my normal one. So registration. How cool is this that we actually have, we sent out a media advisory a couple weeks ago that we had 50 service providers active. We now have 64. We've got an additional 19 service providers who are approved and through the staging testing phase, which means they've just got to finish up their final paperwork before becoming active. So we're doing well there in terms of getting service providers registered. I want to continue to remind service providers not to wait till the last minute if you're planning to try and register with the PA before the FCC mandate June 2021. It probably behoove you not to wait until June 2021 to start your registration process. It does take weeks, usually not hours. Let's talk about a little bit about the certification authority. I talk about this every time, but the policy management authority, since you all don't deal with this day to day, that's the body led by iConnective, our PA, and it's filled out by a number of our technical committee members under the STIGA. Their role is to do a detailed review of the certification practice statements that are filed by prospective certification authorities, the ones that assign the certificates to the service provider. The PMA has just finished another CA review. It will now be passed to the STIGA board for final approval. If that CA is approved, it would give us a total of 8 certification authorities and 6 of those serving the broader industry, which is a personal goal of mine, since a good friend told me that he would be shocked if we ever got half a dozen certification authorities the way we're doing it in the U.S. So, well, we're about to reach a half dozen serving the broader industry, so that's great news. On funding, you will see on the slide you've got the 2021 contribution factor. That's been set by the board. Service providers should remember that if they register in 2020, they will be billed for 2020. Billing's on a calendar year basis, and there's no proration of fees. So somebody who joins in January will pay the full year. Somebody who joins in December will pay the full year. So just a heads up. All service providers that register in 2021 will be billed the same as this year according to their 499A telecom revenues multiplied by that contribution factor. And you can see on the slide the contribution factor for next year is set at 0.0001821. So before you register, you can figure out what your fees are going to be. The GA board policy located under the resources tab on the STIGA website provides detail on both the 2020 and 2021 contribution factors, so you can see the difference there. The 2021 factor did increase primarily for 2 reasons. One, the amount required to fund the Shaken framework, i.e. fund the STIGA and the PA, has increased. It's all funded through STI-PA fees next year. And the other reason is that in 2020, there was a backstop agreement whereby 4 large service providers agreed to, if necessary, and it was necessary, cover the cost for 2021 for the full year of the STI-PA and the second half of the cost for the STI-GA. Because of that backstop agreement and those 4 providers, costs were kept artificially low for everybody else who registered in 2020. So there's no such backstop agreement for 2021. And that's why costs have generally gone up. I'll say generally gone up because for 2021 the minimum payment is the same, still $825. The maximum payment's gone up from $240,000 to $283,950. I'm not including pennies there. And then the STI, if you're an authorized provider, you signed up with the STI-PA already, you should begin receiving your invoices for next year this week. They were to go out on December 1. So that's the funding. In terms of policy, let's go quickly to the next slide if you can. There we go. That's we've got a number of policies that we announced a couple weeks back. The one that I'll highlight now is the SBC token access policy. That's the policy that determines who can get access to the tokens that get you certificates that you use to sign calls. The board voted to adopt a new token access policy, which it announced on November 18th. The new policy will replace the direct access to telephone numbers requirement with a new requirement that a service provider is certified to the FCC that they have either implemented STIR-SHAKEN or they have a robocall mitigation program in place. So the FCC call authentication second report in order directs the Wireline Competition Bureau to release the public notice no earlier than, I believe, March 30th, 2021, that announces the creation of both a portal and a database for service providers to file that certification. And I think the filing deadline is supposed to be no earlier than June 30, 2021. So the new policy or this new access policy will be effective on the FCC certification filing deadline, whenever that is. We don't know, it's not necessarily going to be June 30, 2021, but whenever that is, that will be the effective date of this new policy. Until then, the current policy, which requires you to have direct access to telephone numbers through the NAP or pooling administrator, will be in place. And any providers that get access to tokens under the current policy will have to meet the new criteria within 30 days of that, again, that FCC certification filing deadline, whenever that's going to be. If they don't, they're going to risk having their tokens revoked. So the idea is that everyone, even the current providers that are registered, will have to meet this new token access policy within a short period of time after the FCC certification portal is available. Hopefully that all makes sense. We're going to be talking about that again. Could you go back one slide? I wanted to make sure we had the board policy. If we can go back, thank you. We will be talking about that policy and other policies in Outreach and Education Series. The board adopted a plan that gets us through June 30, 2021 with outreach efforts. The plan includes a series of webinars designed to assist service providers to take steps all the way from registration with the PA to appropriately signing calls. The first of the 3 webinars is actually later today at 2 p.m. We've got about 300 people registered for that, so there's a lot of interest, and we will be talking about this FCC token access policy during that webinar. The events are open to all; they're free of charge. They will be recorded, so if you can't attend today, just go ahead and register, and you can view it at a later time. You'll get a link for that. So this is the first webinar today. The next one is January 21, and then the last one is February 25th. But again, if you register, you can listen to those at any time. And then the last item I have for today is the board voted to extend ADIS as the STIGA at least through June 30, 2021, and potentially through December 30, 2021. So there's an agreement in place that gets us through June and leaves and offers an extra period through December of next year. That's what I have, Chair. Any questions? All right, with deafening silence on the question front, I will hand it back to you, Chair McKee. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Brent. Oh, I did have a quick question. The webinars, are they all going to be the same topic, or will they each cover a different topic? Has it been decided yet?
They will cover different topics. We're going to keep going more in depth. So the first one will be talking about how to work with the PA, how to get through registration, and how to get through the testing. The second one will talk more about working and choosing a certification authority. And then the last one will actually talk about how to sign calls and to make sure you're doing it correctly so you don't get your token revoked.
Got it. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Oh.
Okay, so if we have no further questions for Brent, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, and we will hear from Tim Cagle, who is co-chair of the North American Portability Management LLC. Tim, I'll turn the call over to you.
Thank you, Chairman McKee, and apologies, my clocks are going off, so you caught me just at the top of the hour here. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim Cagle. I'm a co-chair of the North American Portability Management LLC. I share that privilege with my colleague from AT&T, Teresa Patton, and we're pleased to bring you a brief report on the NAPM's activities. So during this very odd 2020 year with the COVID pandemic, I just want to acknowledge that iConnective, our administrator for the portability platform, has performed flawlessly in all of the NPAC regions and supporting those regions working remotely. During the month of October, the NAPM facilitated officer elections, and I'm pleased to announce that Teresa Patton from AT&T was reelected as co-chair. Joy McConnell-Couch from CenturyLink/Lumen was reelected as treasurer, and Laura Dalton from Verizon was reelected as secretary. During the most recent period, in terms of statements of work, there have been no new SOWs or contractual amendments to report on. And then also the NPAC release schedule, release 5.0, which was a very significant release, was successfully deployed across all of the regions on October the 25th. There were no issues to report. And then lastly, with respect to the Contract Implementation Committee, there were no new findings for providers of telecommunications related services that are non-service providers to validate the need for NPAC data access. And lastly, the annual certification, qualification, documentation, and process requirements for PTRS users for 2021 has been updated. New applications have been sent to all PTRS users effective November the 12th. So that concludes the NAPM LLC's report. And I just want to thank Chairman Pai and Wireline Competition Bureau Chief Chris Monteith for their remarkable leadership in 2020, as well as the support of the FCC staff. And as I want to also thank Chair McKee and Vice Chair Williamson for their support and leadership during the year. And with that, I'll wish everybody a very happy holiday season and a wonderful new year. And I'll turn the mic back to you, Chair McKee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim, and same to you. Thank you very much for the report. So now we will move on to our next agenda item, and we will hear updates from our Numbering Administration Oversight Working Group. And presenting for the group is co-chair Phil Lindsay. Phil, the call is yours.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair McKee. My name is Philip Lindsay, and I'm one of the chairs for the Numbering Administration Oversight Working Group. I share that role with Bob McCausland of Untitled Communications and Betty Sanders of Charter. I want to thank them for all of their support over the last year for all the work that's being, all the good work that's being done and performed by the members of the NAOWG. I'd also like to recognize Bill Anderley and Merva Charles and Karen Schroeder for all of their support as FCC liaisons. You know, there's been a lot of things that have developed through the R&D as well as the contract for the NAMPA and the PA and the R&D type functionality. So if we move on to the next slide. So our area of responsibility is the oversight of the North American Numbering Plan Administration, the Pooling Administration, the Billing and Collections, as well as Number Portability Administration. The FCC's contract oversight oversees a couple of vendors, Welch LLC for the BNC, and then Somos for the NAMPA and the Pooling Administration functions. And we've recently established the Number Portability Industry Forum Group, which we'll cover in a subsequent slide. And if we move on to the next slide, I'd like to congratulate Somos Gov Inc. For being awarded the NAMPA PA and RDA contract. That contract is effective as of December 1st of this year. It's a 5-year base duration plus 3 one-year options for extension. The NAMPA and PA bridge contracts with Somos expired on the November 30th, 2020. So we have a new contract. That contract will essentially end up combining the NAMPA PA functions and also will then include the functionality of the reassigned numbers database, as Chairman Pai indicated earlier as well. Then we also have the BNC agent contract with Welch LLP. That was established back in May of 2018 and will be is is a 5-year duration through April 30th, 2023. To the next slide, please. The contract oversight activity since the last Nancy meeting, we've performed the monthly review and deliverables of the NAMPA and the PA, the monthly deliverables for the BNC agent, and then the LNP oversight as well, and facilitated and assisted with the development or the creation of that new group. So if we want to move to the next, so one of the items that one of the changes that has occurred since the last Nancy meeting is including a aspect of the reports that occur monthly with a status of the 998 implementation. It's a nationwide effort to implement 988 as for access to a nationwide suicide hotline. And in doing so, we will need to transition approximately 83 area codes across the United States to 10-digit dialing so that there is no conflict with the 988 digits that will be dialed in order to obtain that access. This reporting will conclude upon the nationwide 988 implementation by July 16th, 2020. For the next slide, the R&D and the BNC agent, the significance here is we've included as part of the contribution factor that was developed in this past year. There was a need to collect the funds necessary to fund the reassigned numbers database. And since the last Nancy meeting, there was the need to begin accounting for those funds that were collected, and we'll provide this kind of the status of that and include that balance sheet going forward as we move into this new contract that was established as of December 1st. This review will eventually include the appropriate distribution of fund balance to the R&DA. So the money that was collected in September of this year will then be distributed to the R&DA in order for them to develop the reassigned numbers database. And then ultimately, once revenues start coming in for that service, then those funds would then be accounted and dispersed back to the service providers. If we'd like to move on to the next slide, please. Number portability. Again, since the last Nancy meeting, number portability form, the MPIF, has been established, and they will be doing very similar work that was previously performed by the LMPA working group, including the number portability best practices, and supported by the Nancy and the oversight by the NAOWG. The chairs of that group have been elected. They are Deb Tucker of Verizon, Teresa Patton of AT&T, and Randy Ryan of Comcast. And we look forward to working with them and facilitating whatever is necessary to help support the work that group does or will do. Can we move on to the next slide, I believe? Okay, these are the entities that are represented in the NAOWG. Just wanted to acknowledge all of the hard work. We have extraordinary participation by this group. I'm very impressed by the collaboration across this industry and with significant participation. So thank you, everybody who are members. I appreciate all of your efforts over this last year. Can move on to the next slide, please. Okay, these are the meetings that we've scheduled out until September 30th of next year. That is scheduled out to September. I think that is the end date to this particular charter of the Nancy. That's why you're not seeing additional dates out through 2021. So if you have any questions outside of this meeting, you can contact myself, Bob, or Betty. We have our contact information there listed there as well. And if there are no questions, I can turn this back to Chair McKee.
Richard Shockey has a question.
Thank you, Marilyn. Phil, this is Rich Shockey with SIP Forum. I have some extraordinary questions about if you could, what I want to talk about is 988. This is the issue that popped out when I first reviewed your slides. You say there are 83 NPAs that are going to be directly affected. I guess my first question is how did you find this out?
Well, when we looked at establishing the 3-digit code and basically settled on the 988 code, we looked at what kind of potential conflicts there would be as far as how how recognizable the code could be, as well as what kind of impact that would be if we were to use that code. One of the main things was one of the primary objectives was we don't want to use a code that is an NPA.
Correct.
However, this particular code is an NXX, a central office code, which then means that you have to address the potential conflict if in those areas where 7 digits are dialed and those first 3 digits are 988. There's a complication that the network needs to be able to understand the difference between someone dialing a local call versus trying to get access to this suicide hotline. So that's how that was kind of evaluated, and we settled on 988 as it had the least impact, but with the most recognizable, characteristics.
Bill, I mean, how many in your best guess? This is extraordinary because it does actually mean a significant impact to those areas that are now going to have to dial 10 digits straight. How many jurisdictions or how many NPAs do you believe are unaffected by the changeover?
You know what? I've been so focused on what has been impacted. I haven't really looked at what hasn't been impacted, and I don't know if there are other members that are more, in tune with the overall picture of MPAs. I don't think it's half of the MPAs because I think there's well over 200 MPAs out there. And some of them are already 10 digits.
I understand that, but as you well know, the issue of 10-digit dialing keeps cropping up in multiple aspects of the Nancy. Obviously, in national number portability, potentially all IP interconnection. Was there any concern in your committee, or at least potentially a recommendation, basically just to say, look, if we're going down this road for 988 implementation, why don't we just recommend going to national 10-digit dialing and solve a bunch of problems all at once and mitigate the pain that I think some of us have realized for a number of years is going to happen anyway. Was there any consideration given to making a recommendation to the Wireline Competition Bureau to say, well, we can do this, but you really, really over time need to look at national 10-digit dialing across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were some side discussions around that concept. However, we wanted to stay, precisely
Focus,
with
right,
what was
right.
being asked of us. And so, and I think it becomes a lot bigger issue when you do expand it, nationwide versus we have a very significant benefit to our country by providing access to the suicide hotline, and we're doing what is necessary in order to do that. And we didn't want to get that caught up in any, all other issues, and we just wanted to be focused on providing that benefit.
I completely understand, Phil, and totally agree. It's just that we're slowly but deliberately marching down a road, and my personal recommendation to the other members of the NANC and to the Wireline Competition Bureau is, at this particular point in time, it may well be necessary and should be considered in the future just to go ahead and do national 10-digit dialing, as painful as that possibly could be. That's all I've got, Phil. It's just, 83 NPAs? Oh my goodness, that's remarkable. Yeah.
And to do them in 2 years is going to be, it's
I
pretty
mean,
monumental
absolutely.
to get that many.
It's going to be very, very
transition.
painful for certain providers, especially with start shaking implementations coming on top of everything else. You and I have talked about this privately in the past. At some particular point, it's just like it's the bridge too far, and certainly national 10-digit dialing or national number portability might have crossed that cross the last bridge or something else like that to bring it on top of it. Thanks, Phil. I mean, I completely understand where all this is coming. It's just when we shall see. It's going to be, like I said, tough for a lot of providers, and I think a lot of communities, because I think I remember the last time a state had to go to overlay, I think it was Idaho. It caused a firestorm when 10-digit dialing was introduced. So that's all I have, Marilyn. If anybody else has any questions, I'd love to hear them.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. Appreciate that. And thank you very much, Phil, for that presentation. And thank you to all of the members of the NAOWG for all of your hard work that you've done and all the work that you've got coming up in the future. Now we have come to the public participation portion of the meeting. In the public notice for this meeting, which was released on November 6th, members of the public were directed to submit any comments via the Commission's electronic comment filing system in docket number CC92-237. Does FCC staff see any comments from members of the public that were submitted in that docket?
Good morning, Chair McKee. There are no comments in the docket at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then as I also mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, we can accommodate public participation through the live questions at fcc.gov email address. And have we received any questions via email to read aloud?
Similarly, there are no questions by email either.
Okay, great, thank you very much. So as I also mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, before we wrap up, we want to discuss the recently released public notice asking the council to discuss and provide input on the feasibility and cost of including an automatic dispatchable location with a 988 call. We will have an informal discussion without a report or vote at one of our meetings in the first quarter of 2021, and our designated federal officer, Marilyn Jones, will provide some additional information. Marilyn?
Thank you, Chair McKee. I just wanted to provide some background information for the members who are not keeping track of this very closely. So on November 19, 2020, the Wireline Competition Bureau released a public notice seeking comment on the cost and feasibility of including location information for 988 calls. In July this year, the Commission also released a report and order designating 988 as a 3-digit number for a national suicide prevention and mental health hotline. At that time, we declined to require location information be transmitted in a call, noting that transmission of call location information is a technically complicated issue that we cannot resolve on the record before us. However, the National Suicide Hotline Designation Act of 2020 directs the Commission to release a report by April 17, 2021 that examines the feasibility and cost of including an automatic dispatchable location that will be conveyed with a 988 call, regardless of the technological platform, and included with calls from multi-line telephone systems. Thus, in the public notice we released on November 19th, we invited comments on these issues. Specifically, we had questions about feasibility of including location information with a 988 call, the technical issues involved and how they can be overcome, including with respect to multi-line telephone systems. How long would an application process take? What are the costs involved, both the financial costs and any potential risk to customer privacy and other non-monetary costs? As part of that, the public notice on the 19th, we also invited members of the NANCY to discuss and provide input to the feasibility and cost of including an automatic dispatchable location with a 988 call at a forthcoming meeting, as mentioned by the NANCY chair. So that's the background of the notice and what we're asking the NANCY to do. And as the NANCY chair mentioned, when the FCC is not going to issue a charge letter per se to any particular working group of the NANCY. So that concludes my background remarks. Thank you, Chair McKee.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Do we have any questions on that?
So, Marilyn, this is Greg Rogers with Bandwidth. Is the status then just sort of stay tuned for further developments ultimately?
Well, so the PN expects comments in December 21st, and reply comments in January 11th. And so the Commission is coordinating with OMR to get a meeting the CMR to get a meeting together, probably late January, early February, so the NANCY can have the discussion that we invited you all to have in the public notice. So, in preparation for that, I guess the NANCY members can decide how they want to prepare for that.
Okay, thank you.
Right. If you have any ideas that you would like to share with the chair at this time, that would be great.
No, I think that the comment period, I guess, comes first, and then we'll go from there. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think that sounds right and sounds like the plan. And it's just the Commission has a very short turnaround on the statutory deadline by which they have to provide the report to Congress, which is mid-April, I think maybe April 17th. So I think that's probably part of the thinking of why they didn't have time to do a full charge letter and get a official recommendation from the NANCY. The PN just uses the term invitation for input from us. So we will have a discussion and see what we can do to help the FCC when they are coming up with that report. Anything else on that 988 issue that we'll be addressing first quarter? If not, the Nancy meeting dates for 2021 will be announced at a later date. We don't have them yet. They will be forthcoming fairly soon. Once dates are finalized, Commission staff will email all the council members and let us know. And with that, my Vice Chair, Bruce Williamson, is there anything you would like to add at this time?
Thank you. I have to remember to get off mute there. Thank you, Chair McKee. No, I have nothing else to add at this point, although back to Brett's comment earlier on, there's always something new in this environment. It's a dynamic environment, so I kind of think it's cool too. But no, I have no other comment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Marilyn, is there anything further from the Commission?
No, nothing further. Thank you, Chair McKee.
Okay, and if there's nothing else, I want to thank all of the members this morning for your time. Please stay safe. I'd like to wish everyone a very happy holiday season, and the meeting is adjourned.